You ever read a text message or an email and just stare at it, thinking, wait, what did they really mean by that? Well, today, we're going to dive into an incredible system developed over 1,000 years ago to solve that exact problem. It's called the hierarchy of clarity.
I mean, seriously think about it. It could be a legal contract, a sacred text, or even just a simple note. When a single statement can be understood in more than one way, how on earth do we figure out the intended meaning? This is a huge challenge, and it's one that early Islamic jurisprudence decided to tackle head-on.
So what they did was, well, they created this incredibly logical toolkit. It's not just a simple clear or unclear. No, they built a whole hierarchy, a kind of ladder of clarity with 4 distinct rungs. Each rung represents a stronger, more powerful level of clarity, and this system is what helps us figure out which meaning wins when texts seem to disagree.
Okay, so let's start at the bottom of that ladder. We're going to look at the 2 most common levels you'll run into. This is really the fundamental showdown between what a statement seems to mean on the surface and what it was actually trying to say.
The very first level, the first rung on the ladder, is called Zaahir. That's Zaahir. This is the surface level meaning. You know, the one you get instantly, just by hearing or reading the words. It's the obvious, first impression, no deep thought required kind of understanding.
Let's use a super simple analogy. You see this sign. What's your immediate takeaway? The Zaahir meaning is just, hey, this place has pasta. You didn't need to analyze it or think about it. That's the apparent, obvious point.
All right, now let's see how this applies in a scriptural context. When you hear this verse from the Quran, the apparent meaning, the Zaahir, is crystal clear, right? Trade is okay, interest is not. It's a direct, straightforward statement of fact.
So let's climb up to the next rung on the ladder. We get to nas. That's nas. Now, this isn't just about the apparent meaning. This is about the intended meaning. It's the whole reason the statement was even made. It's the main point.
Let's go back to our pasta sign. Sure, the thought here is that they serve pasta, but why did they make the sign? The nase, the explicit purpose, is to tell you about the hours. That is the crucial piece of information. They didn't put up a sign just to announce, we have pasta. They put it up to tell you specifically from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
And it's the same with that verse on trade. You have to know the context. It was revealed to shut down a very specific argument people were making at the time, that trade and interest were basically the same thing. So it's nas, its main purpose, is to draw a thick, bold line in the sand and say, no, you're wrong. These two things are fundamentally different.
Okay, so here's where this whole hierarchy thing becomes absolutely essential. What happens when these 2 levels clash? The apparent meaning, the Zaahir, of an open gate is pretty much, hey, come on in. But the explicit purpose, the nas, of that sign is, nope, stay out. So which one do you follow?
And the rule is actually really simple and logical. The nas always wins. The specific intended purpose of any communication is always considered stronger than its general apparent meaning. The sign on the gate overrides the fact that the gate is open. Simple as that. Now, scholars apply this exact same logic to resolve what might look like conflicts in religious texts. So, for example, one text seems to permit something very, very specific for a medical reason. That's the Zaahir. But another, more foundational text delivers the nas, the core principle, a general command to maintain purity and stay away from urine. The rule is that the broad primary purpose, the nas, carries more weight than the narrow apparent meaning of that one specific case. So we've seen how the nahas is stronger than the thahad. But what if a speaker wants to leave absolutely zero room for any other interpretation? What if they want to be so precise that no one can misunderstand? Well, let's climb a little higher up the ladder of clarity.
This brings us to the 3rd level, Mufassar. That's Mufassar. With a Mufassar statement, the speaker themselves clarifies what they're saying. It's not about us figuring out the context. It's about the speaker deliberately adding extra words to slam the door on any other possible interpretation.
Here's a perfect modern example. Imagine your boss just says, you're getting a bonus. Okay, great. The purpose, the nas, is clear, but there's still questions, right? How much? When? But if your boss says, I will give you a $500 bonus in your December paycheck, well, that's Mufassar. It's clarified. They've left no room for doubt.
And we see this in Scripture too. The text could have just said, the angels bowed down. But that leaves things a bit open, doesn't it? Like, did all of them bow? Did they do it at the same time? But look at the extra phrases here. Every single one of them, and all together. Those are the Mufassar. They're a deliberate clarification to tell us, yes, all of them, and yes at the exact same time. All doubt removed.
All right, we have reached the very top of the ladder. This is the highest level of clarity.
This is the one that's so strong, so fundamental, that it just cannot be challenged or changed. And this is called Muhkam. That's Muhkam. You can think of this as perfected speech. It's a statement that is so clear and so foundational that its very nature prevents it from ever being changed, reinterpreted, or canceled out. This is the bedrock.
The best way to get your head around Muhkam is with a legal analogy. Imagine an article in a country's constitution that explicitly says this right can never be repealed under any circumstances. That's Muhkam. The text itself protects it from ever being changed. It's absolute.
So in a theological context, the core beliefs, the foundational tenets of faith, are considered Muhkam. A statement about God's absolute knowledge, for instance, isn't a law for a specific time or place that might change. It's an absolute, unchangeable reality. Its meaning can't be altered.
So there we have it, 4 levels of clarity, climbing all the way from the apparent to the absolute. We have Zaahir, Nas, Mufassar, and Muhkam. Now let's just step back and ask, why does this ancient toolkit still matter so much today?
This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? You can see the progression. We start at level 1, the basic, apparent meaning of Zaahir, which can easily be reinterpreted. Then we move up to Nas, the stronger, intended purpose. Stronger still is Mufassar, which has been locked down by the speaker. And at the very top, you have Muhkam, the unchangeable, absolute truth. Each level gets stronger and carries way more weight.
And really, the crucial thing to take away here is that this is so much more than just some ancient legal tool. It's a sophisticated system for critical thinking. It gives us a framework to move beyond just a surface-level glance, to really dig in and analyze the intent behind words, and to make sure our interpretations are built on a solid foundation of logic.
So this leaves us with a final question, one for our own lives. When we communicate, when we speak or write, are we just being apparent, leaving tons of room for misinterpretation? Or are we striving to be clear about our purpose? Knowing this hierarchy, this ladder of clarity, doesn't just change how you read old texts, it can change how you listen and how you choose to speak.